we want to look at is creating a frequency distribution. So as we saw in class, it can take a lot of time to go through and count up data, and we get a lot of errors trying to count different frequencies for a frequency distribution. Fortunately, again, technology makes life a lot easier for us, and so we're going to create a frequency distribution from our sample. Um, and so coming back over here, we're on the sample worksheet. And what you're going to want to do, depending on the computer you're on, there might be a different sequence you have to click. But on mine, it's insert pivot table. On some of them, it's under data, pivot table. And you just want to make sure, first of all, you've clicked somewhere in this table. You don't want to select a bunch of cells, but just click in there, hit pivot table. It automatically selects the entire range, sample from cell A1 down through T251. And we want to place this in a new worksheet as opposed to one existing one. So that way we've just got sort of a clean setup here. Now, pivot tables, what they do is they give us a table that summarizes data, and they will give us all sorts of different summaries as we go through the semester and a lot of different things that we can work with. And the way we do this is in any table, you're going to have columns and rows, just like in a spreadsheet, and you're going to have values inside the table. And so what we want to do is we want to get a frequency distribution of ages from the table here. And so if I look in this box up top here, the field names we have, I'm going to go down to age, and I'm going to click on age, and I'm going to drag it down to rows. And so now we have a list of all the different ages in the table. So we have everywhere from 13-year-old up to 66-year-old. And then I'm also going to take age and drag it over into values. And you see what it's done is it says now I've got the sum of the ages. So what I'm doing is I'm adding up all the ages. Not really what I want. What we want in a frequency distribution are counts. And so double clicking on this or right clicking on it and doing value field settings, you'll have the option to either take the sum or the count or the average or a variety of different things. I'm just going to do the count in this case. So I do count of the age, and we have now two 13-year-olds, two 14-year-olds, and we've got a good idea of how many we have in each group now. But again, as we said in class, we don't want to list every value out. We want to summarize this in some way. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click and select Group, and under Group, let's start it at, in this case, we'll start at say 10, and let's increase by 5, the way we did in class. Now you might look at your data and say, okay, I want to group it by tens instead. We could have started at 13 and gone by sevens if we had wanted to. And it gives us sort of a different range here. So our lower class limits, 13, 20, 27, now are increasing by sevens. If we want to change that, we can do group and group it by, like I said, by fives. We could start it at 10 instead. And we'll let that check mark just automatically set what the last one's going to be as we go through this. So now we go from 10 through 69 by fives on these groups. And so what we see is that now we have this simple way of getting a frequency distribution. If I wanted to get a chart from this, we could do we could insert a column chart. I don't really want a clustered column. Just it's not working nicely. So we could do clustered column. We get this picture here, which gives us sort of a nice histogram from it. Once you have a table to answer one of the questions that we're looking at, you'll want to have a document that you're working on, again, the Word document, where you can take and you can copy and paste this. So here, if I wanted to copy and paste that, I can go over here and do that. And so here I would want to change this to say age and frequency, and then I can leave the grand total there. Here, if I wanted to include this graph, you're welcome to do a little bit extra on these, and that can earn some extra points if you're going ahead with and doing some extra steps on these. We can get rid of the gap in between these, so now we have this nice graph. And as I mentioned in class, this 10 to 14, 15 to 19, 20 to 24 isn't an ideal labeling for the horizontal axis, but it can be a little tricky to get it to change here in Excel. So I'll just click on that chart and delete it. And now, now if we want to break this frequency distribution up a little bit, in order to do this, we need to have that pivot table builder, which I seem to have lost somewhere. So pivot table analyze up top here. Or the design, somewhere there is a builder button. Options, not option. Field settings. So a lot of different things we can do with this here. I'll pull up the field list. There we go. So we add the field list back. And so since I'm asking you to break this up by race or by sex, or we could break it up by city or other things. If I wanted to break it up by city, I ask you to do it by race and by sex. So you'll do something a little different. But if I drag the city down into the columns here, then what this does is it gives me now across the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 being the cities, and then the ages are grouped down through here. If we look at the key here, I don't have city listed in there, but we could go through and you'd have either Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, other things there, because those numbers aren't really meaningful. If we drag sex down there, then again we have the summary. We can say, okay, this is female, this one is male, and this is unknown or unrecorded for that. And so we have this breakdown now of who was stopped, males or females, in this sample. So then from there, you'll do one for race as well. Copy that into the Word document. Answer the questions I ask you about it, and then. Then the last question I want you to just think about, if you look at this data, are there additional questions you have, or what additional questions do you have about this data from what you're given? So we're given a lot of information here. Could you see other patterns in the data, in terms of whether people are arrested or not, in terms of whether people were searched based on different factors? So look at it, see what questions you have that you come up with, and we'll be looking at as we go along, sort of, okay, how do we answer those questions? So if you have questions, again, email me or shoot me a text, and I'm happy to help out.